Making It Grow is brought to you in part by Santee Cooper, South Carolina's state-owned electric and water utility. More information on green power and energy conservation programs online at santeecooper.com. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, reminding you that certified South Carolina agricultural products help make South Carolina grow. McLeod Farms in McBee, South Carolina. This family farm offers seasonal produce, including over 22 varieties of peaches. Glory Foods, celebrating Southern food with a soulful heritage. Glory Foods, a way of inviting South Carolina back to the dinner table. FTC Diversified, a proud part of your local communities, providing communication, entertainment, and security. Art Fields, a 10-day art competition in Lake City, South Carolina. Additional funding provided by International Paper.
It's dry as a chip at my house, and I was going to fuss at Mother Nature, but she sent that gloriously cool weather for the 4th of July, and that hurricane didn't do too much damage to anybody, so I'm just going to give her a pass, and maybe she'll decide to bless us with a few scattered showers, because we sure could use some. But we are so happy that tonight we're all together and that you are joining us. I'm Amanda McNulty with Clemson Extension, and we're getting ready for an hour of good Southern themed gardening advice with Making It Grow. Jolie Elizabeth Brown is filling in for Teresa Lott tonight. We're so happy to welcome her, and as we go inside, she's going to tell you how easy it is to join her in the chat room, and I hope that many people will go in and make her feel at home and a part of the Making It Grow family. Oh, we had the best visit. Recently we got to go to Spartanburg and visit with a hometown gal who has big, wonderful ideas, and you're going to enjoy seeing the landscape that Libo Wise has created for one of her dear friends and clients. Of course, we also have a side counter guest tonight who's an old friend of mine, and we're going to learn about how Columbia is celebrating local Midlands produce, kind of focusing on those fabulous tomatoes, heirloom ones at that. Of course, Dr. John Nelson with the A.C. Moore Herbarium is with us with one of his puzzling mystery plants, and we have two really smart guys from the upstate who are turning out fabulously trained horticulture graduates, and they're going to help answer your questions tonight. So let's go inside and meet our guest. I just love Jolie Elizabeth Brown, because you are Brown and you married a Brown. And for Clemson, you do water quality, and you do that in Sumter, and then you go to Williamsburg to Kingstree, and I think you've got some 4-H programs going. You are a woman of many hats and talents, Jolie.
Thank you, Amanda. It's wonderful to be here tonight. I always enjoy being on set with everyone and chatting in the chat room. There's always a lot of fun questions and discussions going on. Would love for you to join me tonight. It's easy to do. Go to the Making It Grow Facebook page, scroll down, click on Let's Talk, and sign in using your Rumble Talk account or Facebook account. And be sure, if you're using your mobile device tonight, that you use your favorite web browser and not your Facebook app when signing in. So once you get signed in, this is what the chat room looks like. As you can see, we have about 8 speakers already. Everyone's kind of saying their hellos. It's a lot of our usuals, a couple of new names and faces. So I look forward to hearing all their great questions tonight, and look forward to chatting with you. Back to you, Amanda.
Thank you. Spartanburg Community College has a first-class horticulture program, and 2 of its instructors are here sharing their information and knowledge with us tonight. Kevin Paris named a magnolia after his mother, so that's about the nicest thing I've ever heard of. And what are the things that you're most interested in and that you specialize at Spartanburg Community College's horticulture program?
Well, the diversity of trees are my greatest interest, and just seeing them have opportunity to mature in landscapes, both urban and natural settings, and give us some shade on these hot summer days.
When I've talked to you, it sounds like if we could really, urban trees, they tell me live about 10 or 12 years, but if people would take some time and study and make selections, could that change?
Absolutely. If we look at where these trees originate and the high degree of adaptability they really have that sometimes is unrecognized, I think we can have trees that last for a century in urban landscapes.
So it doesn't have to be a live oak or willow oak or red maple.
Right.
There are more trees out there.
Many choices out there.
Many choices. Well, I think Spartanburg is blessed to have you and then the wonderful fella out there at the Milliken site.
Yes, Stuart Winslow,
yes, Stuart Winslow
has really helped the community tremendously. Yes.
And when you go to Spartanburg, you see the evidence of people who love trees and make good selections. And not to overlook our dear friend Jay Moore. Jay also has talents. And Jay, you really like to get those kids out there and act like they're your kids, and you just gave them blocks for Christmas. What is it y'all are always doing out there?
Probably the thing that I enjoy most, especially in the teaching, is like landscape construction. And the kids get to do, or the students, some of them are non-traditional, older than me, but they have a project. It could be a dry stack stone wall. It could be that we erect posts and hang swings. We put up this past semester a 4,000-pound solid stone picnic table, which was a fun project, sort of a capstone project that those students can walk away and say, I did that. So that's a fun thing.
So when they go out, and some of them are probably going to have their own businesses, you've tried to prepare them to meet any needs that their clients may offer them.
We try to make them well-rounded. It's one of the things that we say. We teach more horticulture than anyone in the state, and we're really proud of that.
Well, and I think both of y'all got your graduate degrees at Clemson, so so I think that we know that you got a good start, and y'all have taken it and done a wonderful job with it, and we're proud of what y'all are doing in Spartanburg. Ryan Nevius is the executive director, I think I've got it right, of Sustainable Midlands, and an old friend of mine. I love to do things with her. She has found everything that's fun in the Midlands, and she just shares it with everybody. And what are you going to share with us tonight, Ryan?
Well, Amanda, I am so pleased to be here. As a Clemson Master Gardener, being on Making It Grow is a real honor. We're going to talk tonight about Midlands grown produce, meat, all the local food that is available to us, and we're going to celebrate it and have lots of fun things. 3 weeks of fun.
3 weeks of fun. I just can't wait. And then, well, we're going to come over in a little while and learn more about that. Thanks so much for being with us. And now we're going to check in with our favorite professor at the University of South Carolina. We just eat up with professors tonight. Got all kinds of guys here tonight. And that, of course, that would be Dr. John Nelson, who is the curator of the A.C. Moore Herbarium. Dr. John, are you there?
Well, I am here, Amanda, and I can just barely hear you.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I hope that the people in the control room will do something about that, or I can try to talk a little bit louder. And so I don't know if they're going to let me keep on talking to you, or if we're going to come back to you in a minute after they solve that problem. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me what to do. And if you haven't read Dr. John's column on, a link to it is on Making It Grow's Facebook page. He tells us that one of his dogs is very good at catching cockroaches. Okay. John, tell us how, when people have things they want to send to you to have them identified, they can get them to you, please.
Okay, well, it's real easy, and we're very happy to look at unknown plants that people might have. I got a real doozy last week that's going to be on tonight.
Ooh.
But you can send me an email with an image attached to the email, and that works out real well. Or you can just mail the darn thing to me, and we get every now and then we get plants sent to us in a little baggie, and that usually works pretty well.
Okay.
And or just call me up, and we'll figure something out if you have something you want identified.
Well, and I guess, John, you're probably one of those people who's glad when it doesn't rain, because it means more days you can be out there tromping around looking for plants to add to the herbarium collection, and we thank you for the work you do there.
Well, I appreciate those kind words, and I hope to be doing it for a long time.
I hope so, too. All right, we'll come back to you in just a little bit. I hate to tell y'all, he said he has a doozy of a plant for us, but these guys have a pretty deep knowledge there. And we're waiting for our first caller. And we have a caller. Nell is calling us from the beautiful low country city of Walterboro. Nell, are the mosquitoes down there out?
They are vicious.
Yeah, I know. They've been terrible, haven't they?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what can we do to help you with your garden tonight?
I have an angel wing begonia that my mother gave me about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And since then I have repotted it into some very good soil and everything like that. Kept it fertilized. now I have a huge plant and no blooms. Help!
Oh, my goodness. And has it bloomed in the past? Oh, I think we've lost you.
Yes, ma'am. It was in full bloom when my mother gave it to me, and it's each year since then it has bloomed less and less.
Well, obviously it is missing something. You have a nursery in Spartanburg as well as being a school teacher, so I bet you have angel wing begonias sometime. You have any ideas what might be going on?
We do. I mean, it could be a variety of things. It could just need fertilizer. Sometimes phosphorus helps to push blooms, and that's the middle number, and the numbers like 10, 10, 10.
Because things in pots get watered a lot, so even though phosphorus tends to stay in the soil, I guess it could in a pot that get washed out, couldn't it?
It could. It
Eventually.
could. Also, what kind of sunlight is this plant getting? Maybe needs a little more sun than it's getting. And sometimes you could take some vegetative cuttings from that and go ahead and start some smaller plants that have more vigor that might tend to replace that older plant that she has.
That's a good idea, because we know that sometimes plants do, one of the reasons we prune things back sometimes is to get that more reproductive phase going.
And it may be the fact that she said it was transplanted. It could have become pot bound, and it bloomed heavily until it was stressed, and then in the transplanting it's now grown with vigor and it's in a vegetative phase instead of a reproductive phase. So it might just need more time and fertilizer.
Well, and as she said, if you took some different cuttings, she could, if she rooted some, she could put them in some different locations and see which one did the best. That might be fun, but I'm glad that you've kept the plant that your mother gave you alive. That's a good thing to have happen. David is calling us from Burnt Branch. David, where is Burnt Branch?
Amanda, Burnt Branch is between Kellytown and Lydia.
Thank you so much.
County.
Thank you. I'm right on it now. well, I know it's a lovely place that you live there, David. So thank you for calling.
It's vicious here also.
Oh, it's South Carolina. Well, what's happening up there in Burnt Town that we might be able to help you with?
Well, I have a neighbor that has a wonderful blueberry bush. He's very kind, let me pick them. But I asked him about taking a cutting from it and planting one in my yard. And I want to know when's the proper time to do that and what's the proper way to do that.
Okay. So now, does he have a lot of blueberries? Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
He has loads of blueberries.
Okay. Because you'll probably have to get several different varieties to move over in order to have pollination. But anybody taking, y'all are great at propagating. How are you going to propagate a blueberry?
This would be a great time of year to initiate that.
Really?
Right now you've got semi-hardwood growth.
Okay.
You've got a new flush of growth at the end of that. And you could probably do this in outdoor beds, raised beds with some type of polyethylene tin over it that you water multiple times per day to keep the humidity high. A rooting hormone, Rutone, anything over the counter would help with that. Ideally, you'd have a greenhouse, a mist system, automated.
Wouldn't that be nice?
And do that multiple times per year. But if you're going to do it kind of as a backyard effort,
but this is a good time
this
of
would
year.
be a good time to do
so
this.
how far back down on the stem would you go?
I like to use the terminology nodes where leaves
Yes,
are attached. So probably a 4 to 6 node cutting in size with a couple of those nodes inserted in a well-drained potting media.
And how many leaves would you leave on it?
4 to 6.
4 to 6 leaves. So you're going to take most of the leaves
Most of them off.
and then put it in the Rutone or the rooting powder.
And ideally maybe scar the base of that cutting a little bit
Right.
prior to it being treated with a rooting hormone.
And then make some kind of frame to hold the plastic up over it, but you got to water it a lot. Yeah.
Or just get a battery operated timer at the garden center.
Okay.
And
All
that
right.
can save you a little bit of effort.
Well, thank you so much.
You could possibly layer it as well if there's some low-lying branches.
Yeah, that's kind of foolproof. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the easier way to do it, is just take a branch that's low-lying, maybe scar the bottom just a little bit, put it on the soil, put a little soil on top, and maybe a rock or a stone, and that will initiate
So
root
where
growth.
the part that's going to be down on the ground, you kind of scar that up a little bit and then and then put the rock or brick or whatever you've got.
Correct.
Okay.
And just let that, and you can sort of
Sit
monitor
there for
that.
a year and the next year.
And eventually come back and cut it off and
Have
lift
a
it
nice
up.
little root system there.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Well, Ruth is calling us down, and she is in Ivor. And Ruth, we thank you for calling us tonight. And what's happening that we can help you with?
Hello, Amanda. I just want to say I enjoy your show.
Thank you, thank you.
And I have a problem. I noticed that that I had some seedlings come up from an invasive tree, and I searched it online, and it's called Tree of Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of it, and do you know how I can get rid of it?
Well, who wants to take this one?
Well, that's a tree that's worldwide. It's famous for being the subject of a tree that grows in Brooklyn.
Alanthus?
Alanthus, and will grow in that crack of the sidewalk,
It sure
and that's
will.
kind of inspirational if there's nothing else growing there, but it is overstepped its bounds in most of the eastern U.S.
She wants to get rid of it, so what would you advise?
Get it when it's young, just undercutting those seedlings in that first year. That would alleviate any need for herbicide. But
Well, it sounds like she's got one there that's dropping seeds, so do you think that the cut and paint stump method would
Yes,
work?
I
Can
would.
you give her a quick run
Yeah,
through on that?
if the tree is already 1 to 6 inch
Yeah.
diameter
She
trunk,
can't
then
do
make a
that.
cut as close to the ground as possible, and then apply concentrate herbicide to that cut. Also, it's important to know in that species, it is male and female. So if you can get that population down to where you don't have as many individuals, there's going to be a lot less seed produced.
But there are so many places where the native flora doesn't get a chance to grow because we have these invasives that are taken over. And I noticed in Spartanburg, y'all have several groups that go out and do kudzu eradication, I think, and some English ivy eradication
Yes.
also. Yeah.
There's a group called the Trees Coalition, and they've actually got, is it a website or a Facebook
They
page?
have a Facebook page.
That you can go and follow what they're doing, and Tree of Heaven is definitely one of the species that they target to try to eradicate.
And Ruth, you can find more about cutting and painting this stuff with a herbicide if you'll call your local extension office. They'll give you more information on that. Or you can call Clemson HGIC, and they will help you with that too, so that you'll do it effectively and hopefully eliminate that bad tree. Well, one thing we don't want to eliminate is our wonderful dear friend Jolie Brown. And Jolie, tell us what's happening in the chat room.
Well, Amanda, we have quite a few chatters joining in tonight. Lots of great discussions. One gal asked me about our beautiful native vine, Carolina jessamine, and I sent her to the Carolina jessamine HGIC fact sheet. This is a very easy plant to grow. It loves our climate and our soils, so check it out. And if you're interested, I hear it's very easy to establish. So things are going great. I would love to have more folks join me. Again, it's easy to do. You go to the Making It Grow Facebook page, scroll down, click Let's Talk, and sign in using your Facebook account or create a Rumble Talk account. So I'd love to have you join me. Thanks. Back to you, Amanda.
Thank you, and we hope we've gotten our little technical problem with Dr. John Nelson fixed, because we're going to go and find out what this doozy of a plant is that he found that he's going to bring up tonight for the mystery plant. John?
Yes, Amanda, it's still kind of hard for me to hear you, but I can hear you. So it might be best if you just let me do the talking.
Well, that's hard for me to do, but I'll sit here and button my lip. Go ahead.
Well, last week I had someone sent me a picture of the most fantastic plant. I'd never seen this before, although I thought it was something that I already knew, but it turns out to be something different. I did not know it. And it's a kind of a plant that it's from South America, but it's showing up now apparently in South Carolina. Very unusual, and very, very few collections of this thing. And it looks like another plant called, you might have heard of this thing, called unicorn plant, that has little pink flowers, and it produces a pod that has 2 devil horns on the end of it once they get ripe. This is a different species from that one, though, although it does produce very sharply pointed prongs on those seed pods, and you can see some of the young seed pods here. The most amazing thing about this species, other than its really gorgeous yellow flowers, is that it is completely stinky. It smells like something I can't mention on the air.
Ooh.
And it almost drips this gooey sap off of the leaves and stems. It's just amazing. I've never run into anything like it. And then coupled with the smell, it was really pretty awful. But the flowers are so pretty, and it's such an unusual plant. It was just kind of a thrill to find it and then make specimens from it. And there's a picture there of the stem. It's quite hollow, so that's kind of interesting. But the nice people that showed this to me, they live near Lugoff, and it was just came up in their garden. They don't know how it got there, and as with so many other plants these days, it's one of these adventive plants. We don't know how they get here, but they're getting here. And I like to tell people that this is one of the reasons that it's nice to let your local friendly botanist know about unusual plants that are showing up, so that we can maintain some kind of a track on these new weeds, especially if they're going to be invasive.
All righty. Well, that is certainly an unusual plant, and to think that it has such a horrific smell is amazing and interesting. Anybody have any ideas?
Wild guess, would we be right if we're in the family Solanaceae?
John?
Well, no, not exactly. It's actually in this oddball family called the Martiniaceae. I guess it would be okay to suggest that this plant could be called or named after its beautiful flowers and the fact that it smells like a skunk.
Well, it looks like we've got the title up now, Yellow Unicorn Plant, and we're all familiar with the one that you were talking about earlier, that sometimes people turn into funky Christmas tree ornaments and all, but isn't that something to think that they don't even know how it got there? That's fascinating, John, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, I was so happy to, and it's a really wonderful plant, but it was really stinky, so I guess most people would not want this in their yard.
Unless they had a mighty big yard. All right, well, thanks a lot, and we will see you next week, and have a good time out there in the woods till then.
So
Okay.
long.
All righty, bye-bye. You've got an interesting show and tell. Bring one of them up for us, please.
Okay.
What we got here, Jay?
This is variegated tapioca.
Tapioca.
Yeah. And this is actually would be treated as an annual across the state. Of course, you notice the beautiful variegated foliage, nice broad texture, so it would give you a tropical feel in the garden. The new growth, if you see up top here, almost has some rosy hints, rosy tints to it. And if I spin this plant around, you can see the stems and the petioles of the leaf are nice and red, and then you've got sort of a creamy colored stem at the bottom. And it's just a really interesting plant.
That's cool. I'd love to have that. I think it'd be a good conversation piece too. So it'll make it till the frost probably.
Oh yeah.
And you think it'll get a little size and keep growing over the summer?
With the green variety, you'll get really big, but I think this one with the variegation probably be a little bit slower growing. I'm thinking 5 feet or so at the end of the summer. But our friends at Moore Farms, we got this from those guys, and Kevin Googled it, and it comes up on the internet.
Good. So if people are interested, just variegated tapioca.
Yes.
Okay, well that is too cool for school. Thank you so very much. And we've got another caller. Sandra is calling us from Charlotte. How are you tonight? And what's happening up there in the Queen City?
I have a question about Calacanthus.
All right.
I have one beautiful bush, and I had planted 6 more. I had 2 that were established in the front where I planted the other 4, and all of a sudden it looked like somebody poured Roundup on all of them. I went back to the nursery, and they said, well, maybe it wasn't getting enough water. They were watered when the plant just totally died, and the roots and the root ball looked beautiful.
Really? And how long had you had them in the ground?
I planted them the 1st of April.
The 1st of April?
And they were all dead by the middle of May.
And you had them watered and mulched and everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And the ones that I had 2 big ones that were beautiful that I had planted last year, and when the new ones started dying, they did too.
Whoa, well, talk about mysteries.
And there were no pests on them. There was nothing. But
Okay.
it looked like somebody had just poured Roundup over everything.
Well, have you didn't run over your neighbor's cat or anything, did you?
No.
Okay, so
no.
we don't think that somebody snuck in the yard and put Roundup on them. Okay. Gosh, anybody have any ideas? I was going to hope it was a vole, but that's always my favorite thing when something just up and dies.
The young ones may be explained by we had a late frost. And even some of the hardiest landscape shrubs I know of leafed out and had that initial flush of growth killed by that frost. And if their root system wasn't well established, they didn't have the reserves to push out secondary growth.
So even though her roots look good, that doesn't mean that they're established and getting the nutrients that they would need to come back after that kind of insult.
Right, and there's just not enough stored food in that early stage of growth.
You want to chime in?
Well, the question I would have is, she may not have sprayed herbicides in that area, but were they along a property line to where maybe a neighbor was doing some spraying?
She said they were in the front, but you know, that does happen sometimes if things drift. You know, really, I mean, sometimes we just have to say, I just don't, I mean, if you got me, and if you find out, we hope that you will let us know, because I don't really have a good idea.
It's a hardy shrub that typically doesn't have root diseases that you'd suspect.
Yeah, okay. And it hadn't been raining that much either.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Well, Jeff is calling us from Union, and Jeff, I hope that maybe we can do a better job of giving you an absolute answer. But you know, that's the gardening world for you. Sometimes you just don't know. But tell us what you just don't know that maybe we can help with.
Okay. 3 weeks ago, I called to Making It Grow.
Yes.
And I explained to them I have knockoff or knockout rose bushes.
Yes.
And my leaves are dying, and it looks like they're skeletons, okay? They're eating all the green part and leaving the stemmy part from the leaf.
Yes.
Okay. And it's, they told me that it was Japanese beetles. Well, I kept looking at it, and come to find out, sure enough, it is Japanese beetles. Now they're eating my flowers. I would like to know if I can put 7 dust on it to kill the Japanese beetles, or something else to kill them.
All right. He's having, and I remember your call, and I'm glad that we at least did have it right, that it was Japanese beetles. And 7 dust we don't much recommend, because it has such a bad effect on the bees, because it just gets all over them and then they take it back to the hive. And if I would recommend that he call, because I don't usually give up pesticide recommendations on the air, but there are some products that would control them.
Well, being from Union, you probably just need to go see Norris Fowler at the Union Oil Mill, and he's probably got a lot of different things that he could recommend for Japanese beetles. And I'm sure he's got several things on the shelf that he could use. With the bees, the big thing is bees are typically out foraging early in the morning and late in the evening. So if you can do your spraying when the bees aren't out foraging and going towards these plants with these bright, vibrant blooms that draw the bees in, try to spray when the bees aren't out there.
But a liquid spray, I think, is safer overall than a dust, because the liquid spray dries, and the dust, when the bee goes, the dust will transfer to its body, I think, and can be taken back to the hive and then cause more damage that way. Well, thank you. So there's a good person up there, and that's a good idea. And then, of course, the local extension office also be good. And just be sure that you read the directions and follow them carefully. And I hope that soon that pest will be gone. It's a pretty voracious pest. All righty. Paul is calling us in Florence, where our friend Tony Melton goes to work every day. Paul, how are you, and how can we help you?
Oh, I'm good. I just wanted to say that my wife and I have been enjoying your program for years now, and hope it continues for many more.
Thank you, sir.
I have a problem with my raised asparagus bed. I built it about 5 years ago, and it's fairly large, about 16 inches high. I filled it with soil, my own soil, and compost it. I composted leaves from my yard and grass clippings over the years.
All righty.
And I'm doing well with it, except apparently I'm having a lot of trouble with weeds coming up in the late spring, and also I'm having trouble with fire ants, and I don't know how to get rid of either one of them.
All right, okay. Well, I'm glad that they're doing well, but they don't like to compete with weeds. I know how I weed my asparagus bed. I mean, because you can't use I don't think there's nothing you can use them to stand for of a herbicide.
Well, there's an organic corn gluten.
Yeah.
Sometimes has some pre-emergent qualities to it.
And does have a little nitrogen, which they like.
So that would be something you could use.
Could have used back in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
And throughout the summer.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Things, delayed germination weeds.
But maybe using save some of your leaves and don't chop them up, and put more of a more coarse mat of leaves on the top, which helps to suppress some weed growth. You got any other alternatives?
Yeah, there's a product on the market now called Eco Clear that you could mix at home. It's vinegar and citric acid, vinegar and lemon juice.
Which works somewhat as a herbicide,
It's sort
a safe
of
herbicide.
a safe herbicide,
Okay.
so maybe just don't get near that asparagus foliage in just a small mist bottle.
And then if you go to Making It Grow's to our website, to our ORG page, mig.org, Vicki Bertinelli did a program on controlling fire ants, and you can put a bait product around the bed, not in the bed. And then if you go to Clemson HGIC, Joey Williamson's written a really great fact sheet on products that you can use within the bed itself. So there are things out there that you can use that are safe and labeled for the fire ants, and you can choose the one that you want to, depending on the situation that you that will work best for you. So we hope that that'll give you some help. I'm going to go find out about something that has not had problems with weeds or fire ants, and that is some tomatoes that Ryan Nevius brought with her. So while I make my way over there, we're going to check in with Jolie Elizabeth Brown and see what's happening over there in the chat room. Jolie?
Thank you, Amanda. I'd like to tell everyone that Clemson Extension is celebrating 100 years of service this year. We have been public servants for 100 years, and I think that's just wonderful. To celebrate, Clemson made a brand new webpage that I would love for you to check out. It's located at www.clemson.edu/extension/100, and there's a lot of great facts and wonderful pictures on this page. There's a picture of the day every day, and today's is titled Seasonal Stunts. The boys choose the maypole dance, and these boys are from Jasper County, 1926. I'm assuming they're 4-H'ers, and it's just a great trip down memory lane. Would love for you to check out the website. Also, this picture is a great reminder that summertime is a very busy time for 4-H. So be sure to check out your county 4-H's website. And I know that I have a day camp coming up in Williamsburg County, July 28th through the 30th. We'll be covering everything agriculture, healthy recipes, and arts and crafts. So if you're interested and would like more details, please check out the Williamsburg County 4-H Facebook page. Back to you, Amanda.
Thank you, Jolie. And after sharing an office with Jolie, I can tell you that everything she puts her hand to is fun and well planned, and you'd have a good time being a 4-H'er with her. And she says she'll put the links and the reminder to the Williamsburg 4-H Facebook page on Making It Grow's Facebook page, just to make it easier for you. But one thing that's wonderful and easy is that if you haven't been growing tomatoes yourself, they're growing tomatoes and other things in the Midlands. And Ryan Nevius is here to tell us how they are going to celebrate this wonderful, bountiful harvest.
That's right, Amanda. It's tasty tomato time in all over the country, but down in the Midlands here, we are having a great time with it. For about 10 days now, we've been having a photo contest that people are sending us the pictures of their tomatoes, either on the vine, on the plate, or tomatoes unleashed. So kind of some great shots coming in. Be creative. Have fun with your tomatoes, or with your neighbor's tomatoes.
Now, why did you decide that you needed to let people have a photo contest? Because I thought you were having a contest where they could actually bring the tomato itself.
We have our homegrown tomato contest, and this is the I think the 4th year for that. And that's because that's for folks who had those tomatoes that are ripe and ready to taste on July 14th, when they bring them over to 701 Whaley, where my office is, and they give them to us. And on the 15th, we judge them, and then we announce.
So on the 14th, people are going to come to 701
That's right.
Bring tomatoes.
Ripe and ready to taste.
Oh, and then people are going to come and
taste them. And Amanda's been a judge, and it's a great fun to judge those tomatoes, and it's an amazing to see what our South Carolina Midlands gardeners have been producing.
And actually, I think that you can have a big tomato, or you can even have small. You've got categories for everything.
Categories, bigs, yellows, unusuals, children's under 12 category,
Okay.
which is fun. Always fun to have the kids be winners. And so we're excited about the contest. We have the homegrown tomato contest, and we have something so exciting this year. Our local restaurants and our local farmers are joining together, and what we're doing is having a local food restaurant feast.
Ooh.
So we have over 30 restaurants that are participating with all farmers from Midlands grown, not just South Carolina grown. We're going hyper local to Midlands grown farmers, and they're using.
And I'm sure most of them are certified South Carolina.
Certified South
Of course,
Carolina,
yes,
absolutely.
yes, yes.
And we have meat producers, produce producers, grains, spirits, all sorts of wonderful South Carolina grown products.
So restaurants are going to, and fancy restaurants and just regular places where you just walk in.
Coffee shops, bar and grill, local restaurants, and there'll be a link on your Facebook page and on your web page to tell everybody what restaurants are participating and what they're going to be serving, which is so much fun, and how to enter those contests, both the homegrown and the photo contest.
All right. And then is there a culmination?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, because yes, Saturday, July 19th at City Roots Urban Farm, we are
Right there near the in-town airport.
Exactly. We're having our 5th annual Tasty Tomato Festival. Can't believe it's grown every year. We've got great music. We've got 2 stages going this year. Wonderful food being done. I mean, we've got Oak Table and Rosso, who sent us this wonderful Watsonia organic eggplant layered with ricotta cheese and a Cherokee purple tomato with marinara and City Roots microgreens on top.
Whoa.
I mean, just wonderful dishes that these restaurants are going to be preparing, but they're also going to be out at the festival serving you food. Tomato, Rosewood Market, who, by the way, if you have trouble finding your heirloom tomatoes, they scour the countryside for these and their local farmers.
And now some of these wonderful new
Yes.
local beers, are those going to be available for tasting
Well,
too?
first of all, we have Conquest, who I guess is a local microbrewery that
Yes.
opened about a year ago. And then
Out
we
near
have
the fairground.
near the fairgrounds, and
football
also near the fairgrounds is Swamp Cabbage, and they will be previewing this beer. It's not for sale yet. It'll be previewed at the festival, and we're so excited because, of course, Swamp Cabbage is the name for our palmetto, which is, of course, our state tree. So we have light beer and dark beer, and we're so excited to have the spirits involved in the restaurant feast.
Photo contest, we've got the actual
homegrown.
Bring them in to have them judged, then we can go out and have a wonderful meal.
Enjoy these wonderful restaurants and helping, and they're supporting. We have restaurants that use local food all the time, and then we have some restaurants, we're getting them hooked. We're getting them connected with those farmers, and we're going to be encouraging them to continue to serve
the
local.
date for the big fun day down at City Roots.
Saturday, July 19th from 4 till 9.
And I bet you can get a tomato sandwich if you come.
Rosewood Market selling the tomato sandwiches. Their Heritage Field Farm tomatoes are going to be sliced between white bread with Duke's mayonnaise. Doesn't get much better than that.
Doesn't get any better than that. Well, we thank you so very, very much, and we can't wait to learn more at the end of the show.
Great.
We are going now to go to Spartanburg to a wonderful garden that's kind of a little memory of the Pacific Northwest that was designed and installed by a famous local gal, Liv-O Wise. In Spartanburg, South Carolina, in Converse Heights, an old residential section. And I'm with Liv-O Wise. Liv-O is a landscape designer. Liv-O, this is a treasure of a yard. How did it come to be?
When I met Nancy Simmons, the owner, we love working together. And I have to give her credit where credit is due. She pulled the thread through when she decided we were going to go mostly with conifers.
Well, and there is such a wonderful variety of plant material. Let's start in the front and kind of work our way up towards the house.
All right. Blue globe spruce. Love the heat, as do the silver or blue varieties of conifers, much more than the green.
And you know, we'd been told we couldn't use those here, but you say you're always willing to try things.
Always willing to try things. Have tried the green spruce, doesn't work. Blue does well.
And looks good too.
Looks good too, takes the heat.
And then you've got some little boxwoods you were telling me about that I'm very interested in.
Those are called Tide Hill, and they get wider than they do tall, dwarf. Take the heat well also.
Isn't that a nice trait in a boxwood?
Yes, it certainly is.
You have wonderful shapes. What variety? Tell me about some of these.
Well, I think everybody knows about emerald green arbovitas. They're popping up all over the place. And then we've got black dragon cryptomeria, and then we've got black pine, and then we've got, again, some upright boxwoods that get really tall. So we like to prune those quite a bit. And we've got some interesting cypress that have been topiaried also.
And I think that's one of the things that the woman who lives here enjoys doing. She likes to sculpt. I see that in a lot. And that actually can give extra air movement through plants, can it?
Yes, and just like your hairdo, the more you cut it, the better it grows.
And then we see that there's still a enjoyment of color and flowers, and so you add those little touches in, I believe.
Yes, until we get all knitted up, the annuals just have to have their place in the sun.
As we walk towards the back, I understand that it used to be you did that at your own peril because you might fall down into the creek down below. What have y'all done back here?
Brought in an unbelievable amount of topsoil to build up the backyard because there was none. It went straight to the woods. So she had the courage and probably the wallet too to build it up and put a retaining wall in, and that's how it all started.
I love your use of textures to give interest and add, because it's a very small space. So you need to create some excitement and some interest. And the Japanese maples that are used so beautifully in the front are repeated in the back, but with hostas underneath them.
Yes, they need some shade, as you well know. Hostas are a favorite too, just because of that meaty texture. Love them.
And then again back here, we've got beautiful uses of stone in the front, and you've repeated in some kind of different ways in the back. Talk about how you've used stone there.
Well, gravel. I love gravel gardening. Things just grow well in it. I don't know why, but we love to use gravel anywhere we can to just kind of knit a hardscape into a softer one.
And as we look out, we see that you get to appreciate the trunks of the trees. Mm-hmm. And if you take your courage and walk over to the edge, you've got a secret garden.
Yes, we do.
And that's kind of a new feature. Tell us how that's evolved.
Well, we ran out of places to work in the front, so we just had to move on into the back. It's just an ongoing process here.
And you said, of course, one of the things was that that area was so heavily covered that you had to remove things.
Yes, we had to take out quite a few trees.
And one of the things that is popping up unexpectedly is a little woodland flower that's in bloom.
Jack in the Pulpit. I had to ask you what it was. It's beautiful. I didn't know they got that tall. Yeah, they're everywhere. It's unbelievable. I don't know how they ever came to be down there. That was dense shade.
And one of the things you've done is you, in a sense of not being wasteful, you took some of the things that had originally been in the yard that had no place in the new scheme of things in certain areas, and then put them down there where they were more appropriate, like some of the azaleas and things.
We both love to transplant. It's just fun. We like that 50-50 chance.
So this, you've told me that one of the things that's happening here that you love is that you and Nancy are still working on ways to tweak and unify. What do you think we might see in the future?
There's no telling with that woman. She's a genius.
Well, Libbo, I think that you need to give yourself a pat on the back too. And we thank you and Ms. Simmons for letting us visit such a remarkable treasure of a garden.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm honored. Love your show.
to get a client who wants something different and to have a designer who knows how to make something different that still fits in perfectly in the surrounding neighborhood. A real treasure up there. And thank you guys for telling us about Live Wise. We had so much fun. And this is the time of, I bring my hats out this time, and it's been hot, so I thought I'd try to think of things that were cool. And this is such a fun little plant. It's a little, what do you?
Polygonatum, variegated Solomon seal.
Yeah. But instead of the great big ones in the mountains, it's just about that. And I think everybody should have some in their yard, don't you?
Combines well with hosta and ferns.
Yeah, well, I've got a little hosta flower on there too. How about that? What have you brought up here for us?
This is a neat little group of plants called Manfreda. Or some taxonomists go ahead and lump it in with agave. So it's basically a group of native agaves to the southeastern U.S.
Like the thing that we break and put on our birds?
Right. Aloes also in that group of plants. But these are xeric plants. They can grow in a mixture of sun and shade with very little water. And from just 2 plants, we've been able to generate hundreds with our students in our propagation classes.
Whoa.
By doing some hand pollination on these. So
what fun. Now you said, as tall as you are, that when this throws a bloomscape, you don't have to bend down to look at it too much.
As tall as I am, and it makes it real easy to propagate because you don't have to bend over. Kevin will just take those bloomscapes and rub them, and next thing you know, we've got hundreds of seeds.
So if someone had a dry area and they like to kind of have that look, it'd be a good thing to include. Okay, well, thank you. That was really fun. Y'all bring such wonderful things. It's a pleasure in many ways. Jerry's calling us from Port Royal. Jerry, how are things down there in your part of the world?
Things are hot, and we need some rain.
We do too. Sounds like yours, like everywhere in South Carolina. Well, is there something we can help you with? We can't do a rain dance for you, but we'll try to help you.
Yes, ma'am. Jay and Kevin, we certainly appreciate y'all coming down and visiting us last week, and y'all doing a real good job of turning out some fine horticulturists throughout the Southeast, and we thank you for that. It's good to see you, and good to have good fellowship and good food with you last week. My question is, I've got a citrus tree in my yard that I've fertilized with a deep root injection this year, 1648. I've got it under irrigation 2 times a week. I have minimal blooms, and I have no fruit. Do I need another tree to help with pollination, or what should I do? I'll hang up and listen for your answer on the TV. Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
All right, sounds like a bud of y'all's. Yeah, I hope he gave you a good lunch when you were down there.
Yes, we do have the advantage of knowing the setting that he's in, and I think we concur it's probably lack of sunlight in his situation.
Citrus, as I understand, are self-fertile. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think maybe there's a tangerine or something that's not. So it's not, doesn't it? So, but they where do they grow? They grow in sunny Florida, right?
Right.
Yeah,
so we know Jerry's property has a canopy of water oak, and so that can be an issue there.
I wouldn't take a tree out though. I think
No.
I'd find somebody to babysit my citrus.
Exactly.
Not as hot as it gets down there.
Exactly.
Sun and shade. Okay, that was fun. Okay, Beverly's called us from Saluda, South Carolina. Hi, Beverly. Thanks for calling us tonight. What's happening that we can help you with?
My brother has a little raised bed with 4 tomato plants. And the night before last, he found a worm munching on a tomato. How can we get rid of the worms without using anything pesticides, organic only?
Did he see the worm?
Yes, ma'am. He saw the worm, plucked off the tomato with the worm, and got rid of that.
Okay. Was the worm half in and half out of the tomato, or was the worm?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Munching on the tomato.
Okay. Well, if he doesn't want to, he's got tomatoes. He's got worms in his tomatoes, and he doesn't want to use anything except organic stuff. So.
Probably what I'd recommend using is, in a dust form, it's oftentimes goes by dipel dust, or in a liquid form, BT or Bacillus thuringiensis.
Which is a soil-borne bacterium that affects Lepidoptera larvae. Is that correct?
Right, and that is correct. And typically worms, caterpillars is what that's really going to affect, and tends to work rather well and is a safe product to use.
Okay, thank you so much. Harvey's calling us from up the road in Camden, one of our favorite places. Harvey, how are you, and how can we help you tonight?
Yes. I was wondering, there's some white that's on my squash, and I don't know if there anything to do about that? I think it's blight, but I'm not sure.
It's whitish looking.
Yes, ma'am.
On the leaves. Well, I don't know. Anybody got squash at home with white on the leaves?
Sounds like powdery mildew.
Yeah. Big question I'd ask is, a lot of people get home in the evenings, their squash plants are wilted down, and so they go in water. Those leaves don't like to be wet through the evening hours because it's cooler, it's still humid, and a lot of times powdery mildew and some of these diseases can hinder the growth of the plant and kill some of the plants. So try to get, if you water in the evening, water the soil and not the plant, or go out there early in the morning before you go to work and do your watering then.
And those plants that have great big leaves are going to kind of melt down, and a lot of times after the sun goes down, they'll kind of perk back up. Yeah. Okay, so maybe best to wait till the morning to look and not overwater. That's good observation. Thank you. And you sure don't want to get things wet at night. Well, we want to thank Ryan Nevius for coming and telling us about the fabulous events that are coming up to help us celebrate Midlands produce and producers and growers and consumers who are going to come and eat up those tomatoes. Ryan, tell us how we can find out about all of this great stuff y'all have planned.
Well, you'll have a link on your Facebook and webpage. We have our own Facebook and webpage available as well, and you'll be able to get to that through Making It Grow. Come on out and see us. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be delicious and a lot of fun.
And tastytomato.com is easy to remember too,
It
if you don't want to have to bother to go through our Facebook page.
TastyTomatoFestival.com.
TastyTomatoFestival.com,
Right.
Excuse me. But of course you want to go through our Facebook page because Teresa Lott and other people keep it so much fun. And I applaud everyone for putting together this and celebrating the bounty and fun that comes from getting together and enjoying local South Carolina, particularly Midlands produced foods. Hope everybody will make it a point to get out there and have such a good time. And I want to thank you, Jolie Brown, for coming with us tonight. And it's such a treat to have you over there. Tell me, did y'all have a nice little turnout in the chat room?
We did, Amanda. We were very busy tonight. Lots of great questions. It was good to see some of the regulars and a few new names as well. Enjoyed talking to everybody. If you have any questions that were not covered or you didn't get a chance to chat with me tonight, feel free to post those questions on the Making It Grow Facebook page. And while you're there, check out this delicious cover picture of blueberries. It just looks so yummy, and it reminds me of the blueberry bushes that we have out at the farm. My father-in-law planted those, and he always tries to get to them quick before I do, and they get gone. So enjoyed it, and back to you, Amanda.
Thank you. And of course, we, our friends up at Clemson's Your Day program that comes on Monday through Thursdays at 12, and it's always so much fun, have some great things lined up. On July the 14th, Angela Halfacre, who teaches up there at Furman, is going to talk about sustainability, what colleges and universities are doing to be more ecologically minded, which I think is a cool idea. On the 15th, our dear friends Vicki Bertinelli, who of course you know from the show, and her cohort entomologist friend, extension agent Tim Davis, will be talking about bugs, all kinds of bugs, just like tomato worms. You can call them with all kinds of questions. And then on Thursday, James Blake, Millie Davenport, and Corey Tanner, two of them from the show, and James is also a wonderful Clemson extension agent. They're going to have a show with call-in questions. You can call with any of your questions. That's at the Your Day show that comes on from 12 to 1. On Monday through Thursday on SCETV radio all over the state. And I think we've got time to pull up this interesting little fellow whose flowers look familiar, but when it gets to the rest of it, he's a puzzle. Because I looked at those and I said, that looks like what we have all over Swan Lake, Cirilla or Tai, but that's in a wet kind of situation, and you said this takes a different spot.
Well, you were very close, because it is a Cirilla, but this is Cirilla arida, which grows in Florida in drier conditions.
Completely different.
Completely different, smaller foliage, more compact. But what I like about it is it could be a nice landscape alternative for Pieris japonica, which suffers throughout the state from root rot issues.
Oh.
And we have tried this in the upstate. It is quite hardy. outside that range. So I think texture-wise, this could be a great alternative to Pieris in some landscapes.
So we can use it down here or even expand it up towards the upstate.
Yes.
Because I've never been able to grow Pieris, and I think that really is a beautiful plant. And again, this one is called?
Cyrilla arida.
Cyrilla
arid to imply that it is drought resistant.
Okay. And y'all have been going around doing things. I think you're going to quickly tell me that you're going to make a trip soon.
Yes, we've been busy in the past week checking on interns throughout the state.
And where are you going to go that's fun?
The big intern visit will be Tanner Howell is a student of ours. It will be our first Great Dixter intern.
Great Dixter in England. Okay,
Yes.
We've got to run, but it was a lot of fun. And we can't go to England, but we'll see you next week.
Making It Grow is brought to you in part by Santee Cooper, South Carolina's state-owned electric and water utility. More information on green power and energy conservation programs online at santeecooper.com. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, reminding you that certified South Carolina agricultural products help make South Carolina grow. McLeod Farms in McBee, South Carolina. This family farm offers seasonal produce, including over 22 varieties of peaches. Glory Foods, celebrating Southern food with a soulful heritage. Glory Foods, a way of inviting South Carolina back to the dinner table. FTC Diversified, a proud part of your local communities, providing communication, entertainment, and security. Art Fields, a 10-day art competition in Lake City, South Carolina. Additional funding provided by International Paper.